Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the last entry for the White Guard. So this is the fourth of four, and we're covering the White Guard chapters 16 through to 20. So I guess if you haven't heard parts 1, 2 and 3, what are you doing? Go and listen to them. And I've remembered to record this one on video as well, so result. Okay, so yeah, for those that don't know, my name is Cams Campbell of Cams Campbell Reads, from Tolstoy to Tolkien, one page at a time. And let's just dive in. So chapter 16 I have entitled The Cathedral and the Crowd, and this is me reading from the essay which is going to go out on Substack at camscampbellreads.substack.com. So I've started with a really nice image of St. Sophia's Cathedral, which is just stunning. And it reads, "We begin in St. Sophia Cathedral, Kiev. The choir sings, 'Long may he live,' for Petlura." There's an atmosphere of expectation and confusion which Bulgakov conveys skillfully, using dialogue to emphasise the uncertainty among the crowd. Quote, "God, if only we could get out of here now. I need some air. I won't make it. I'm going to die." End quote. There's some vivid imagery. Quote, "Through the dark lancet windows of the multi-storied bell tower, which had once warned of the imminent arrival of the slit-eyed Tatars," or was it Tatars? "the small bells could be seen thrashing about and howling like fierce dogs on a chain." End quote. Is Petlura in the cathedral or out on the square? Nobody seems sure. The Nationalist Army arrives in the square for a parade. The Blue Division, the Galicians, a brass band, rank upon rank of soldiers, Cossack rifle regiments, Haidamach Cossack infantry. The cavalry rides in, led by Colonel Bolbatoon and Kozir Leshko, who is in a bad mood, because Nye Tours reduced his numbers in the shootout that cost him his life. There's the Black Sea Hetman Mazepa troop, which nearly defeated Peter the Great at Poltava. 10 cavalry regiments are followed by artillery, mortars and howitzers. 4 armoured cars bring up the rear. Nikolka finds a vantage point beside a peasant woman in felt boots. The crowd turns on 2 officers, Captain Pleshko and a pale-faced man. I've got an image here of Bogdan Khmelnytsky, the monument in Kiev. The sun breaks through the clouds, bathing the scene in bright red light. Bulgakov describes the statue of Bogdan, illuminated amid the chaos, as a speaker addresses the crowd. His speech begins as an oratory to the Ukrainian People's Republic, but it quickly devolves into Bolshevik rhetoric. The crowd surges forward to seize him, but he escapes in the confusion. We learn that the speaker is Shure, joined by Ensign Spalyansky, the man who sabotaged the armoured vehicles with the sugar, and a third, unnamed person with fair hair and a fur collar. Bulgakov gives us no further details about Shure. He's a parody, a mouthpiece for empty slogans. His Ukrainian name, Shure, literally means great-grandfather, an archaic rural term. Bulgakov almost certainly chose it for its faintly ridiculous tone. As for the unnamed third figure, we're never told who he is. Scholars generally read him as a generic political hanger-on, possibly a clerk or agitator from the Petlurist headquarters, representing the crowd of non-entities that revolution always seems to bring forward. He could even be a cipher, standing in for the countless nameless voices who follow whichever leader is ascendant. Some commentators, for example Leslie Milne in Bulgakov the Novelist Playwright 1977, have suggested he might symbolise the everyman whose moral void enables demagogues like Shure serving as a foil to the turbine's integrity. We then follow 2 figures in student uniforms, one of whom we learn is Karas. The tall one says, "Serves him right, just what was needed. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Karas, the Bolsheviks are brilliant. I mean it, absolutely brilliant." The speaker is almost certainly Mshlaevsky. Bulgakov deliberately leaves him unnamed, signalling the shift from individuals to types as the city changes hands. Characters are in disguise, fading into the mist as their old world disappears. They head off to Tamara's for a drink. Chapter 17, The Body of Naitours. We're back with Nikolka as he sets off on his mission to find Naitours' family and inform them of his noble death. The crowds on St. Sophia Square get in his way, forcing him to take a circuitous route to Mala Pravalnaya Street. He finds the apartment and rings the bell. He's invited in, but he doesn't get as far as informing Naitours' family of his news before his mother guesses why he's come. Nikolka accompanies Naitours' sister Irina to retrieve Naitours' body and ensure he receives a proper funeral. They bribe the mortuary janitor to bring them inside. Bulgakov's gruesome description draws from his medical background. Quote, Nikolka could dimly make out something that he had never seen before in his life, row upon row of naked human corpses lying one next to the other like stacks of wood, emitting an unbearable stench in spite of the sal ammoniac. End quote. I won't share the rest of the paragraph. It's grim reading. The horrors of war writ large. They find the body, place it in a coffin, and Nikolka, overwhelmed, feels a sense of calm at having fulfilled his mission. Quote, That is my son. Thank you. When he heard this, Nikolka burst into tears again and went out of the chapel into the snow. All around him lay the night and the snow, and overhead the Milky Way and the stars like crosses. End quote. Chapter 18, Fever and Faith. Back at the Turbines' apartment, Alexei is gravely ill with typhus. The doctor tells Yelena, quote, There's very little hope, end quote. Yelena realises this means none at all. Quote, Yelena's feet grew cold standing there, and for a moment she was overcome by the sense of depression and gloom pervading the purulent, camphor-ridden air in the room. End quote. Hands up if you had to look up. Purulent. Yelena prays to the Virgin Mother, and Bulgakov gives us one of his most striking scenes of spiritual realism. Whether divine or psychological, the intervention feels real. Alexei's fever breaks and life returns to the flat. Chapter 19, Recovery and Revelation. Quote, Petura. His sojourn in the city has lasted for 47 days. End quote. This opening line reminds us of just how short a time span the novel covers. So much change in such a short time. Alexei is out of his sick bed, but his illness has changed him. It's only February and the city is beset by a blizzard. Alexei is looking out the window, his head filled with thoughts. Quote, Grim and cheerless, but always lucid. His head seemed to him to be a light and empty vessel, as if it were some alien box sitting on his shoulders, so that these thoughts appeared to be coming from somewhere outside him, in a sequence that they themselves had determined. End quote. He sees a patient. It's Rusakov. Remember the syphilitic man we met in chapter 9? He's come to be cured, having been sent by Father Alexander. He's turned to God and religion, something that Alexei warns him against. Rusakov talks of the precursor of the Antichrist, whom he identifies as Shpolyansky, the one with the sugar in the fuel tanks. Seemingly, he's gone off to Moscow to bring back, quote, a host of fallen angels, brackets, Bolsheviks, behind whom is the, quote, face of Satan, brackets, Trotsky. Quote, but just at this moment, a time of suffering is upon us, the like of which no one has ever seen before, and it will be with us very soon. End quote. Alexei visits Yulia, bringing her a bracelet of his mother's to thank her for saving his life. He asks about the man in her photograph, which he first saw while recuperating at her apartment. It's Shpolyansky. Yulia says he's her cousin, but we can read between the lines. He's her lover. Bulgakov remarks that Shpolyansky is the chairman of the Magnetic Triole, a fictional literary salon of the type fictional? Bulgakov remarks that Spolyansky is the chairman of the Magnetic Triolet, a fictional literary salon of the type Bulgakov loved to lampoon, marking Spolyansky as a poseur, part of the decadent intelligentsia, a hedonist out for his own ends. Alexei leaves, but we sense he'll be back. He runs into Nikolka, who has just left the Naitour's family on the same street. He seems to be forming a relationship with Naitour's sister. They return home and enjoy a meal as in old times. Quote, and nobody sitting at the table was wearing epaulets, all epaulets having turned to dust and been blown away by the blizzard. End quote. Vasilisa brings a letter for Yelena, and Nikolka notes how happy he seems. Quote, perhaps money stops people from being nice. Take this room, for example. Nobody has any money, and everybody's nice. End quote. It's a letter from Olia in Warsaw, telling Yelena that she saw Talberg and that he's going to Paris and intends to remarry. Alexei is furious and tears Talberg's photo from its frame, ripping it into pieces. Chapter 20, Mars Ascendant. Quote, great and terrible was the year of our Lord, 1918, but the year 1919 was still more terrible. Bulgakov mirrors the novel's opening line, symmetry and foreboding. A Cossack soldier beats a Jew to death with a ramrod, a brief, brutal image of senseless violence. Above, Mars glows red in the night sky. Quote, and at the very moment that the man lying on the ground died, the star of Mars in the frozen heights above the outskirts of the city suddenly exploded with a deafening roar, spattering fire. End quote. Mars, the god of war, links the opening and closing chapters, a cosmic witness to humanity's folly. In this second instance, quote, far off Moscow, end quote, presages the coming Bolshevik storm. The Cossack soldiers ride out, and the city falls quiet. Quote, but why had it happened? What was it all for? Nobody can tell. But will anybody pay for all the bloodshed? No, no one. End quote. Alexei has a dream in which he dies. It makes me think of the Tears for Fears lyric from Mad World. And the dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. It certainly is a mad world. He awakens, hears Myslayevsky and Karas's snoring, and goes back to sleep. The city is safe. For now. Vasilisa is also dreaming. His dream starts happily as he watches the shoots of his vegetable plants growing in his allotment. But then monster pigs come and destroy it. Prophetic. The Bolsheviks are coming. The spirit of sleep then flies off to a railway platform at Darnitsa on the left bank of the Dnieper. There's an armoured car waiting on track number 3. It's depicted as an armoured monster of sorts, with incandescent coals overflowing from its, quote, womb, while, quote, its blunt snout was silently pointed at the forests lying along the bank of the Dnieper, end quote. People in furs and greatcoats run across the busy platform. We follow an anonymous soldier as he struggles with the cold while he's on sentry duty. He dreams of the warm bunk that awaits him on the troop carrier when his sentry duty ends. We learn the armoured car's name, Proletarian. The soldier looks up at the stars and sees the 5-pointed star of Mars. He lowers the butt of his rifle from exhaustion and falls into a dream. Exhausted, he lowers his rifle and drifts into a dream of his home village. An inner voice tells him he'll freeze to death, and he resumes pacing. Moonlight shines on the 5-pointed star of his uniform. History's wheel is turning again. While the turbines sleep, the next chapter is about to begin. February 1919, when the Bolsheviks crossed the Dnieper and took Kiev. In Bulgakov's time, Darnitsa rail station was a relatively new junction, linking Kiev with the Moscow-Bryansk line, and connected by the Darnitsa Bridge, built between 1868 and 1870, and destroyed by the Soviets in 1941. A modern bridge now stands in its place, and I've got an image there of the modern bridge. Book of Revelation. We join Rusakov as he reads from the Book of Revelation. We get a quotation about the apocalypse, once again mirroring a quotation from early in the novel. Bulgakov employs symmetry again, underscoring the novel's central theme as the horsemen of the apocalypse descend on the city, destroying the old orthodox imperial civilized order. Yet Revelation also offers a test of faith and endurance. Talberg and the hetman failed where the turbines stood firm. The passage Rusakov reads brings him peace. Quote, instead of fear, he felt awe and the wisdom of submissiveness. He felt at peace. End quote. Yelena then has a nightmare of bloodshed and death, and she awakens shouting for Nikolka. Finally, Pietka Shiglov, the boy from next door, dreams of a diamond globe raining droplets and bursts out laughing with joy. There's hope that the children will see a better world. Bulgakov ends the novel under the canopy of stars, highlighting the insignificance of man's petty wars and struggles. If only we would look up and reflect for a moment. Quote, the stars will remain when even the shadows of our bodies and of our deeds no longer remain on this earth. Why then do we not wish to direct our gaze towards them? Why? It's a powerful question with which to end the novel, and one that I find comforting when I do remember to do it. I get a similar feeling when I'm hiking in Scotland's mountains. Translator's choices. I have 3 translations of the novel and always enjoy comparing. Purulent was too good a word to ignore, so let's see how the others translated it. The original text reads, Еленины ноги похолодели, и стало ей тумана тоскливо в гнойном, камфорном, сытном воздухе спальни. Но это быстро прошло. Roger Cockrell translate that as follows. Yelena's feet grew cold standing there, and for a moment she was overcome by the sense of depression and gloom pervading the purulent, camphor-ridden air in the room, but this soon passed. Michael Glennie translates it as follows. Elena's legs turned cold and she felt overcome with a moment of dull despair in the reeking, camphor-laden air of the bedroom, but the feeling quickly passed. No purulent there. Schwartz. Elena's feet were cold and she felt a vague melancholy in the bedroom's thick, purulent, camphorous air. This passed quickly, however. So we do get purulent there. Interesting, huh? The close. Let's take a look at the novel's closing to get a feel for the different translations. It's such a powerful ending. Right, see if I can get the Russian pronunciations right here. Original. Ну, он не страшен. Все пройдет. Страдания, муки, кровь, голод и мор. Меч исчезнет, а вот звезды останутся. Когда и тени наших тел и дел не останется на земле. Нет ни одного человека, который бы этого не знал. Так почему же мы не хотим обратить свой взгляд на них? Почему? Cockrell, but it is not to be feared. Everything will pass. Suffering, torment, blood, hunger and plague. The sword will disappear, but the stars will remain when even the shadows of our bodies and of our deeds no longer remain on this earth. There is not a single person who does not know this. Why then do we not wish to direct our gaze towards them? Why? Michael Glennie. But the sword is not fearful. Everything passes away. Suffering, pain, blood, hunger and pestilence. The sword will pass away too, but the stars will still remain when the shadows of our presence and our deeds have vanished from the earth. There is no man who does not know that. Why then will we not turn our eyes toward the stars? Why? And Schwartz. But this isn't frightening. All this will pass. The sufferings, agonies, blood, hunger and wholesale death. The sword will go away, but the stars will remain when even the shadows of our bodies and our affairs are long gone from this earth. There is not a man who does not know this. So why are we reluctant to turn our gaze to them? Why? Final thoughts. This was my second time reading the novel in as many months. My biggest challenge was my lack of historical context, something Bulgakov's contemporary readers would have had no trouble with. The plot covers just 47 days, set during one of the most turbulent and complex periods in modern European history. Its repercussions continue into the present day, so reading deeply, as we have here, has given me more context for understanding the current conflict in the region. Historical fiction is one of my favourite genres. It places me in the midst of history through its characters in a way that non-fiction cannot, truly bringing it to life. Video call. I'm hosting a video call for paid subscribers on Tuesday the 4th of November at 8 p.m. UK time. Here is a list of questions for you to consider after our introductions. 1. Opening and historical context. What did you know about Kiev and Ukraine in 1918 before starting the White Guard, and how has the novel changed your sense of that time and place? 2. Did the novel help clarify who the various factions were, Hetmanites, Petlurists, Whites, Reds, or did it make things even more confusing? 3. The Turbine home. What role does the Turbine apartment play in the novel? A refuge, a symbol, or something else? What does the tiled Dutch stove represent to you? 4. Family and loyalty. How do the Turbines differ from Talberg in terms of their loyalties and moral compass? Do you think Bulgakov is holding Talberg up for judgment? 5. The city as character. How does Bulgakov make the city feel alive or dying? What emotions does his portrayal of Kiev evoke? 6. How effectively does Bulgakov draw you into Kiev in December 1918? Did you find it easy to visualise the city in its atmosphere of collapse? 7. Chaos and cowardice. Talberg flees while Alexei stays. What does the novel suggest about courage, cowardice and duty in a time of collapse? 8. The populist uprising. How does Bulgakov depict the Petlurists and the social upheaval they represent? Do you think his portrayal is sympathetic or critical? 9. Dreams and visions. What do you make of Alexei's dream sequences and Bulgakov's blend of realism with the fantastic? Do they add insight or distraction? 10. Closing reflections. Reading The White Guard today, do you see any parallels with the world's current political and cultural divisions? And 11. What do you think Bulgakov wanted readers to feel by the end? Despair, faith, survival, or something else? So those are the questions that we'll be considering during the video call on the 4th of November, which at the time of recording this, which is Halloween, it's only 4 days away. So I should figure out how to do that, really, whether it be on Zoom or whether I use Substack to do the scheduled call for paid subscribers. I've never done it, so hopefully I'll be able to figure it out in the next 4 days. But there we go, the end of the White Guard. It's been good, hasn't it? Here's my copies here. That's the Schwartz translation with St. Vladimir on the front. This one here is the Michael Glennie translation, which is the one I've had on my shelf since 1993. I know, I was supposed to read it in first year at uni. Didn't. And I've got the most recent translation and my favourite, Roger Cockrell. This is the one that I've bought most recently, obviously, but it's the one I've just read twice, September and October. And I've got this original text here, which has multiple stories in it, and it's a present from a pupil of mine from when I was a student in Ukraine. I can't tell if that's focusing or not. I don't think it is it? It says, I hope you will love this book from your Miss Girl. Right, so hopefully I'll see some of you anyway on the 4th. If you can't make it and you have questions, let me know. Just drop a link below. I will possibly record the chat. I don't know though, that depends on how you feel about it. If you're in the chat or on the call and you'd rather it not be recorded, that's fine. As I say, I've never done it, so I'm figuring all this out as I go. Right, so that's us. Thanks for reading this amazing book with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll catch you maybe in the next read along, which has yet to be confirmed. Speak to you later. Bye.